live, it says. And there he says, you're live. Welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And hello, everyone.
And I thumped my chest a couple of times to make sure I'm still here.
With a few small problems and things, and we managed to plug on through, and here we are. Sorry about the delay. And
we got bumped.
Yeah, bumped a little bit, but hey, I'm only 12 minutes late. So anyway, here we are. We're going to read from this book. And if you haven't already heard what the book is going to be, this is it. We finally have brought it to you. It's Native American Myths and Legends. And tonight we are going to read some cool stories picked out by David Null himself, Hawkeye Two Feathers, also known. Anyway, David, you got some words of wisdom to say for us tonight while I get my stuff together.
Absolutely. Greetings and blessings, everybody. And, you know, we are in the waning hours of 2020. And isn't it exciting, you know, because we can plan on what we want 21 to be like. And I did a video earlier, not to, you know, pat myself on the back, but we have the choice every single moment of every day to make a difference in the world. Sometimes it's just a thought, sometimes it's a prayer, sometimes it's calling somebody or writing a letter, whatever it is. It doesn't mean we have to participate in rallies or protests or anything like that. But if we want to change, then we have to participate. It's not going to happen on its own. We can talk about it, we can think about it, we can look back at this last year, and if we've learned any lessons, we we get more done when we participate, you know. So keep that in mind, because this year's gone and we got a chance to start over. So let us do a better job. We've already got some practice in, you know what I mean? Lord have
Absolutely.
mercy. Everybody I talked to the last few days is like, thank you, Jesus, that this year has gone by. You know, old folks like me are like, we have never ever seen anything like this. So not since the World War II, you know. But anyway, enough of
Oh,
that.
I know it.
So, but with that said, um, our topic and as such for tonight is Native American myths and legends. And I thought I would give you folks, especially those who might be coming in late, even though we were late because of technical difficulties, not our fault. Hey, let's all say hi, Bob, and thank you. Let us have a good show. Um, but that I've known a true legend keeper from the Tlingit tribe, and we traveled at the same powwows and saw each other several times a year and visited, had dinner together. I mean, you know, got to socialize, and even gave me personal letters from his brother so that I could take any of the information and draw from it so I could tell stories about the Northwest. Anyway, so, but with that, I've had many discussions with him about what is a story, what is a myth, and what is a legend. And in this, a legend to the Native Americans is like its history, okay? And a legend keeper will tell the story of the legend, whether it be of Raven, of Turtle and Turtle Island, and the old stories of how the first natives got here. And those legends are history to the native peoples. So, but when you look at it from, let's say, a movie perspective or somebody, or I always say the white people's point of view, and in that a legend is it's just like a story. Nuh-uh. I can make up a story, but I can't make up a legend, you know. And in trying to keep things segregated, when I would go out on the circuit with the powwows, I wanted to make sure that the people understood that the story I was telling was based on a legend. So that's how I could get away with, and there's no way that I could tell the legend accurately because they practice this a lot, repeat it over and over. They make recordings so they can hear themselves, but they're not allowed to write it down. So, but with these legends now, this history of the peoples that the Tlingit go back, like 32, 3,500 years kind of thing. They can, they put marks on a rock, I reckon. And I don't mean that in disrespect, but they've been a long time, and through the legend keepers, they've been able to maintain this um, um, true story. So, and a
Mm-hmm.
few years back, the state of Alaska actually accepted the legends as native history. So, but anyway, so now a myth is sort of taking a legend and kind of, drawing it out a little bit or adding a little something to it, or not quite the legend. So it's based on history, but it's like somebody telling a story about the Civil War. And well, they were at Gettysburg, and, so they're trying to tell a story about a private. So they base the story on around the Civil War. So a myth is like that. It's based around a legend, but the story is a story woven into it. And storytelling is just that. So, but some stories, like the ones we're going to do tonight, I tried to pick some simple ones just to, as a base point to start out with, because some of these stories, I mean, oh my God, they're really long. I was like, holy crap. And most of the ones I've read so far are totally different from any of the ones that I have in my possession and have studied over the years. And I haven't run across anything that's even, well, a little remotely similar. But but being here on the eastern side of the United States with the Cherokee and the Seminole and the Muskogee and the Creek, and and the mixes there, um, the stories that are told are much different than the stories and the legends out west.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the mountains and the rocks and the desert that maintain a story. Whereas the Cherokee, they there's not a lot of rocks around here to put things on, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the story is told, and then when white man got here, they intermixed with the Cherokee so early on that most of the honest to God traditional stuff has been lost. There are a few records here and there, but when the Trail of Tears came around, they tried their best to wipe out the Cherokee.
Mm.
So, but anyway, so now to talk about the stories, um, Robert, he tried to type out these stories. Now he only had a day, but to the point, I was like, "Dear Lord, my friend, please, don't kill yourself over this." So, but the first story we're out with tonight, I got them over here on the side, 169.
Anyway, while you're looking for that, I'm gonna say hi to everybody. In the chat, we got a lot of people here tonight. Let's go back here a ways. We got, oh, if they stuck with us, Chloe. Hey, Chloe.
Hey, Chloe.
Uh, we got Teresa. We got Peter Meteor. And we got, oh, they came in right away. They were the first. We got, I see, Chloe says I'm a good bus driver. Giant. Hey, Giant. We got Mandy Moo and Lucky Stone and Delaney Pearl Jones. Happy New Year!
Hey, Delaney. Hey, everybody.
We got let's see who else. Mandy Moo. Everybody was so nice of waiting for me. Thank you so much. We got David Castle. David Castle's in the house. We got to get together and do another show, David. That's well, maybe we'll just get all three Davids on. Wouldn't that be quite the show? Gaza Cav, hey, I hope your knee is feeling better. Ray of Thoth, hey, thank you. He's saying I do a good job, and I want to say I wouldn't want to spend New Year's Eve with anybody else but my soul tribe. That's you people. Michelle, Can-Am Free. Thank you for coming. I hope you got some healing power from the other night with your kid there from the Andromeda 7. Boy, they were really doing up a storm on the healing stuff. And Maverick George, Happy New Year. Yes. Oh, man. And Celtic Warrior, Joey. And he's going to be on tomorrow night. So y'all tune in, and we are going to have a show with him on, and he's going to show us some of his stuff he's making, some of his staffs, and a bunch of other stuff. He sent me some pictures of some cool things that are going on. I used to make some of that stuff myself back in the day. I had a workshop and could do all that good stuff, and I kind of envy him. So, boy, I tell you, that's he's a lucky dude for getting to do that. And tomorrow he'll be on, and we'll go through and see what he's got in store. We got Travis the Brick. Here we are. Yes, Travis. Howdy. Well, let's see. So I'm looking for that. Gaza Cav, I got to have you on too. I want to talk about, this is probably gardening time over there. And Ed Hagel, he's coming on. I don't know which day. I gotta get you, not Ed, I mean Gaza. I'm thinking too many things in my mind right at the time, you know. So busy days. I'm trying to get everybody in. I got a little break here from work. Had today and tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday off for sure. And I want to try to get a lot of
Uh-oh, Robert froze. I don't know if y'all can still hear me or not. Robert froze up. I'm not sure because I'm not monitoring the YouTube channel. Maybe I should be. That might help situations out. Hello.
Hello. Hey, David, it's Teresa. Just hang on. Robert's going to reboot. He'll be back on.
Yeah, I figured that. We talked about it. I'm not on, am I?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine and see you, so we can hear everything you're saying.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, how about I read a story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. Well, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you, Teresa. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a story that's actually not on our list. So as Robert's rebooting, and it's called Playing a Trick on the Moon. Long ago, Moon was the chief of the heavens. One day he said to Spider, "Make a rope of cedar bark and stretch it from the earth to the sky." Soon Fox and Blue Jay found the rope and climbed it. Late at night, they came to the place where it was fastened to the underside of the sky. Blue Jay picked a hole in the sky, and the two of them crawled through. Blue Jay flew to a tree, and Fox found himself in a lake. There he changed himself into a beaver. Moon had set a trap in the lake, and Beaver got caught in the trap. Next morning, Moon took Beaver out of the trap, skinned him, and stretched his skin out to dry, and threw the body into the corner of the smokehouse. The next night, Beaver waited until Moon was asleep and snoring loudly. Then he got up, took his skin from the place where it was stretching, and put it back on. While Moon was still snoring, he examined the house and the sky world. Outside, he found a great forest of fir and pine and cedar trees. He pulled some of them up by the roots and then, with his spirit powers, made them small enough to carry under one arm. Under his other arm, he put Moon's tools for making daylight. He took some fire from below the smoke hole, put ashes and leaves and bark all around it, and carried it in one hand. He found the sun hidden in the Moon's house and carried it away in his other hand. Then Beaver found the hole Blue Jay had made, changed himself back to Fox again, and went down the rope to the earth. There he gave the fire to the people. He set out the trees. He made the daylight. He set the sun in its place so it would give light and heat to all. The people were happy because of the things Fox brought from the sky. By this time, Moon had awakened. When he found the beaver skin gone and the sun stolen, he was very angry. He knew that one of the earth people had tricked him. Noticing footprints around the house, he followed them to the top of the rope Spider had made. I'll follow him to the earth world, Moon thought. But as he started down, the rope broke. Both Moon and rope fell down in a heap and were transformed into a mountain. Today, the peak is called Mount Si. The face of the Moon can still be seen on one of its rocky walls. The trees which Fox brought down from the sky and planted have become the great forest of the Cascade Mountains. That was recorded by Ella Clark in 1953, a year after I was born. Now, this next story is called The Theft of Light. Now, in going back to this last story, there are a lot of traditions in that, how Fox was so sly and sneaky and a trickster. And that along with, Coyote's also a trickster. And so the idea that these animals would have brought fire and warmth and trees to the people is very interesting. In some other stories, not in here, and how the animals choose someone to go and steal the fire from fire gods on one of the islands up in the Northwest. So here's the theft of light. At one time, there was always darkness and never daylight. Giant put on his raven skin and left the heavens, flying across the water for a long time. When he was very tired, he dropped a little round stone that his father, the chief, had given him. It fell into the sea and turned into a large rock, where he lighted to rest. Then he flew east again until he reached the mainland at the mouth of the Skeena River. And there he scattered, turn the page, salmon roe and trout roe, saying, "Let every river and creek have all kinds of fish." Opening a dried sea lion bladder that he had packed with fruits, he strewed them over the land and said, "Let every mountain, hill, valley, and plain be filled with these." When the sky in this world of darkness was clear, a little light came from the stars, but when it was cloudy, there was only black night. The people were distressed by this, and Giant, he was too, and he realized how hard it would be to get food in the dark. There was a light where he had come from, and he made up his mind to bring it down. Putting on his raven skin, he flew upward until he found the hole in the sky and went on through. He took off the raven skin and placed it near the hole, then traveled again until he came to a spring near the house of the chief of heaven. There he sat down and waited. Soon the chief's daughter appeared with a small bucket to fetch water. When Giant saw her coming to the spring, he transformed himself into the leaf of a cedar and floated on the water. Without noticing the leaf, she dipped it up with some of the water and swallowed it. After a short time, she was with child, and soon she gave birth to a boy. The chief and his wife were delighted and took care of the baby as he grew strong and began to creep about. Then, however, he began to cry, Hama, Hama, all the time. Nothing they could do would soothe him until finally the chief called his wise men together and asked them why the baby was crying. One of the men listened to the cries and understood them. He told the chief, he is crying for the ma. This was the box in which daylight was kept and which hung in one corner of the chief's house. It was what the giant had remembered when he descended to our world. The chief immediately ordered it taken down and placed it near the fire. Suddenly the boy stopped crying and began to roll the ma around inside the house. He played with it for 4 days until the chief became so used to the child's games that he did not even notice them. Then the boy, who was of course Giant, grabbed the ma and put it on his shoulders and ran out of the house. Seeing him, someone said, Giant is running away with the ma. And all the host of heaven pursued him. But he reached the hole in the sky, put on the raven's skin, and flew down carrying the ma. And his pursuers went back home. This time, Giant started at the mouth of the Naz River and traveled up it in the dark. After a while, he heard the noise of some people who were catching okachin in bag nets for their canoes. Holding the maw, Giant sat on the shore and asked them to throw him one of their fish. They refused, calling him a liar, for though he was wearing his raven skin, they knew it was Giant. Throw me one or I'll break the maw, Giant said. Still they scolded and taunted him. Giant repeated his request 4 times and then broke the maw. Suddenly there was daylight. The north wind began to blow hard, and all the fishermen, who were actually frogs, were driven downriver until they arrived at a large mountainous island. Here the frogs tried to climb up, but they were frozen by the icy wind and turned into stones that stuck to the rock. They are there to this day, and to this day, all the world has daylight.
That is cool.
Yeah, that one was based on a legend reported by Franz Boas in 1916.
So what is the ma?
The ma was a box that held the sunlight.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, they're talking about this ma and the, and so he basically he stole it. He stole the ma, right?
Yeah, and then when he changed into a leaf, and then he was eaten.
Yeah.
Along with the water, and then he had to come back as the baby. So he changed and then was birthed, and he wasn't happy because he was eaten and lost his ma, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
To that point though, when he broke it though, sunshine came out. So it was holding sunlight in it.
I see. Well, yeah, because there's like crazy things in there. Like he played with it for 4 days.
Yep.
It made, I don't understand, some of these things, which after I read it, I was confused. Well, I wasn't confused, but I was confused of why 4 days? Why not 5? Why not 3 or 2? You see what I'm saying? And then I didn't know what the Ma was. And, and then of course, he put on the raven skin so that he could, fly. And then there was a hole in the sky. What do you think that's all representing? Those are some of the things that I was
here's
curious.
an interesting thing, and I've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some physicists that, when discussing the Big Bang theory, that we actually got spit out from an overblown, a totally another universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a big balloon, and
Mm-hmm.
we popped out through the side of the balloon, basically into this nothingness, but created this universe. So we're actually part of even a bigger universe,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so if you think about that, which I have over the years, when they poked a hole in the sky, it's like, did they understand a higher level of physics? I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
that story, that they
Yeah.
poked a hole in that balloon, and out come this, the sun, and here's our universe, and like, wow. So I scratch my head over the years and listening and reading some of these stories and go, they knew a little something else other than just the representation of a bird in flight.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's some other, and now I can't tell you about the four, because four doesn't really, as far as I can think of right now, doesn't necessarily relate to anything. Where the number 3 or 6 or 9, or that kind of combination,
Mm-hmm.
the Fibonacci sequence and all that kind of stuff, it's a ratio. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure about the four. But you see, this particular story, um, is Tim Sheehan, and it's northwest up there. And I got to say that, there's some crazy stories down here too, but they've got some, um, crazy ideas about the sky. And we have to
Mm-hmm.
take into consider that many of these tribes and religions understand about the sky people. They just do. They accept it. It's in their history. And so, when some things don't make sense to us, it makes total sense to them. But about the number 4, I honestly don't have a clue at this point.
Okay. Mandy Moose says, can I ask David, you said you haven't found any stories similar. Have you looked at Aboriginal dreaming stories?
I've looked at all different kinds, and I even went to the native. Hang on, it's National Indian Museum. It's sort of like the Smithsonian, but for native artifacts and things. And
Yeah.
there are stories there. And then I found, this has been 20 years ago. And one of these days I'm going to find it. I got a whole file of stories, and, and listening to other native tribes, and going to powwows and listening to stories, So I've collected these, along with, from listening to other
Mm-hmm.
folks tell them, or, from other readings. Now, there are a lot of pages in these books. So the fact that I haven't run across one yet doesn't mean that it ain't in there,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Totally.
it does seem like a lot of these are Northwestern, uh, and more up north than Southern.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I haven't really run into anything that's like Cherokee and Sioux. Cherokee or
Well,
Muskogee.
I think you're thinking a lot of the the Native American ones, but like Mandy's from Australia, and I would love to get a book on Aboriginal stories. That would be kind of cool. Mandy, I'm hitting you up. Find me a book, and we'll do a show. I'm looking for all kinds of different ones. I think we should really explore all that. Um,
Yes.
it's the creation of the world, the what's happening in the celestial bodies up there. It was not only seen by the Indians or the Arabs or the all of them. it was seen by everybody, the Chinese, the Australians, the you know, over there, the Aborigines, the, you know, everybody, the South Americans. I got a book on what's it called, the Pote Vu or something like that, from South America. I'm going to read that one, and I'll let you guys know what that is, and maybe I can get somebody else to read it with me too. So that would be cool. What's the next one we got picked out here on your list? It was the Deer Hunter, I think it was.
Yeah, and I picked this one. It's a little longer. It's like a page and a half, or almost
now
2 pages.
to tell everybody, I did get the one typed out, and I'm planning on typing all the stories that we read out, and so whatever we read, I'm going to type, and then I can send it to you. And I think somebody posted, I think it was Peter Meteor, who posted it earlier, a PDF of the book, somewhere in chat. And if he did, thank you much. Why don't you email that to me, or I can go back in the chat and find it. And then I'll have it. We can pass it out to everybody too. Now it'll save me a lot of typing.
And if you have a scanner, you can do OCR and it'll translate it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole lot easier. But anyway,
there he goes. He put he put something in there. Discord channel. Oh, okay. Thanks, Peter.
Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden. I picked this because it's a love story. What? Hawkeye's doing a love story? But you know, for true love, and then I had learned from the legend keeper of the Tlingit that one of the things that they did there, they had 4 different basic tribes, A, B, C, and D. And I've talked about this before, but he said that, you know, A and C was okay, and B and D were okay, or whatever the configuration was. And the rules were so strict that if they had a child, the child when it was born was taken out on the ice and left.
Oh,
geez. I was
geez.
like, what? And he goes, no, that's the rules, you know. And he was like, because we can't intermix the blood. So here's these supposedly stupid Indians, right? But the bottom line is they knew how to keep from getting their blood crossbred and deterioration within the tribe, within the nation, I'll say, you know, where there were 4 tribes of that nation. But anyway, so this reminded me of that. So long ago in the ancient home of the San Juan people, and the village whose ruins can be seen across the river from the present day San Juan, lived 2 magically gifted young people. The youth was called Deer Hunter because even as a boy, he was the only one who never returned empty-handed from a hunt. The girl, whose name was White Corn Maiden, made the finest pottery and embroidered clothing with the most beautiful designs of any woman in the village. These 2 were the handsomest couple in the village, and it was no surprise to their parents that they always sought one another's company. Seeing that they were favored by the gods, the villagers assumed that they were destined to marry, and in time they did, and contrary to their elders' expectations, they began to spend even more time with one another. White Corn Maiden began to ignore her pottery making and embroidery, while Deer Hunter gave up hunting, and at a time when he could have saved many of his people from hunger. They even began to forget their religious obligations. At the request of the pair's worried parents, the tribal elders called a council. This young couple was ignoring all of the traditions by which the tribe had lived and prospered, and the people feared that angry gods might bring famine, flood, sickness, or some other disaster upon the village. But Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden ignored the council's pleas, and they drew closer together, swearing that nothing would ever part them. A sense of doom pervaded, I lost my place, pervaded the village, even though it was late spring and all nature had unfolded in new life. Then suddenly White Corn Maiden became ill, and within 3 days she died. Deer Hunter's grief had no bounds. He refused to speak or eat, preferring to keep watch beside his wife's body until she was buried early the next day. For 4 days after death, there's that number 4. For
Yeah.
4 days after death, every soul wanders in and around its village and seeks forgiveness from those whom it may have wronged in life. It is a time of unease for the living, since the soul may appear in the form of a wind, a disembodied voice, a dream, or even in a human shape. To prevent such a visitation, the villagers go to the dead person before burial and utter a soft prayer of forgiveness. And on the 4th day after death, the relatives gather to perform a ceremony releasing the soul into the spirit world from which it will never return. But Deer Hunter was unable to accept his wife's death. Knowing that he might see her during the 4-day interlude, he began to wander around the edge of the village. Soon he drifted farther out into the fields, and it was here he, at sundown of the 4th day, even while his relatives were gathering for the ceremony of release, that he spotted a small fire near a clump of bushes. Deer Hunter drew closer and found his wife, as beautiful as she was in life and dressed in all her finery, combing her long hair with a cactus brush in preparation for the last journey. He fell weeping at her feet, imploring her not to leave, but to return with him to the village before the releasing rite was consummated. White Corn Maiden begged her husband to let her go because she no longer belonged to the world of the living. Her return would anger the spirits, as she said, and anyhow soon she would no longer be beautiful, and Deer Hunter would shun her. He brushed her pleas aside by pleading his undying love and promising that he would let nothing part them. Eventually, she relented, saying that she would hold him to his promise. They entered the village just as the relatives were marching to the shrine with the food offering that would release the soul of White Corn Maiden. They were horrified when they saw her, and again, they and the village elders begged Deer Hunter to let her go. He ignored them, and an air of grim expectancy settled over the village. The couple returned to their home, but before many days had passed, Deer Hunter noticed that his wife was beginning to have an unpleasant odor. At first, he only turned his back on her as they slept. Later, he began to sit up on the roof all night, but White Corn Maiden always joined him. In time, the villagers became used to the sight of Deer Hunter racing among the houses and through the fields with White Corn Maiden, now not much more than skin and bones, in hot pursuit. Things continued in this way until one misty morning, a tall, imposing figure appeared in the small dance court at the center of the village. He was dressed in spotless white buckskin robes and carried the biggest bow anyone had ever seen. On his back was slung a great quiver with the 2 largest arrows anyone had ever seen. He remained standing at the center of the village and called in a voice that carried into every home for Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden. Such was its authority that the couple stepped forward meekly and stood facing him. The awe-inspiring figure told the couple that he had been sent from the spirit world because they, Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden, had violated their people's traditions and angered the spirits. That because they had been so selfish, they had brought grief and near disaster to the village. Since you insist on being together, he said, you shall have your wish. You will chase one another forever across the sky as visible reminders that your people must live according to tradition if they are to survive. With this, he set Deer Hunter on one arrow and shot him low into the western sky. Putting White Corn Maiden on the other arrow, he placed her just behind her husband. That evening, the villagers saw two new stars in the west. The first, large and very bright, began to move east across the heavens. Second, a smaller, flickering star followed close behind. So it is to this day, according to the Tewa. The brighter one is Deer Hunter, placed there in the prime of his life. The dimmer star is White Corn Maiden, set there after she died. Yet she will forever chase her husband across the heavens. That's lovely. It's tragic. It's, I found it moving in that in life, we have the opportunity to be so loving to the point where it becomes obsessive. And when things become excessive in any realm, rhyme, reason, we need to stop and take a look at whatever it is that we're obsessing over. I'm looking for the 387. Yeah. 87? Yeah. I got a couple of stories about Coyote. And depending on which tribe and what nation you might be around, native tongues will change the emphasis on certain vowels or letters or whatever. I got them wrote down over here. 342. This is a short one. Wait, is that the right page? 342. Nope. Almost there. There are a lot of pages in this book, let me tell you.
Oh, wow. Which one are we on next? Sorry about that. Through all that confusion I did, I somehow unplugged the stupid computer and then the battery went dead and it goes, lights up and it says, please plug in or you'll lose your files. And all of a sudden the thing just goes, and I went, oh, crap. I tried to save it. I really did.
This one is page 342. It's Coyote and Washitu. And it's from the Brule Sioux. There was a white man who was such a sharp trader that nobody ever got the better of him, or so people said, until one day a man told his Washitu, there's somebody who can out-cheat you anytime, anywhere. The Washitu said, that's not possible. I've had a trading post for many years and I've cheated all the Indians around here. Even so, Coyote can beat you in any deal. Well, let's see whether he can. Where is this Coyote? Over there, that tricky looking guy. Okay, all right, I'll try him. The Washitu trader went over to Coyote. Hey, let's see you outsmart me. I'm sorry, said Coyote. I'd like to help you out, but I can't do it without cheating my medicine. Cheating medicine. Ha! Go get it. Coyote said, but I live miles from here and I'm on foot. But if you lend me your fast horse, will you lend me your fast horse? Well, Washitu said, well, all right, you can borrow it. Go home and get your cheating medicine. Well, friend, said Coyote, I'm a poor rider. Your horse is afraid of me and I'm afraid of him. Lend me your clothes, then your horse will think that I am you. Washitu said, well, all right, here are my clothes and now you can ride him. Go get that medicine. I'm sure I can beat it. So Coyote rode off with the Washichu's fast horse and his fine clothes, while the Washichu stared there in the street bare-assed. Told at Grass Mountain Rosebud Indian Reservation, South Dakota. In 1974, the story was told, but that is an old story. So it just goes to show you, say, you can't cheat me, and then right under your own eyes, that's exactly what happens. So that's one of them tongue-in-cheek ones.
Well, I hope I got the right one. I was trying to find it in the thing. I got it on the PDF and on the screen up here. So, which one we?
I'm on page 343. It's just the next, and this is from the Nez Perce.
Okay,
How Beaver stole fire from the.
Wait! Just give me 2
I'm
seconds.
just telling the title so you can help look.
What's it? I got the things wrote down. 342.
343.
343. Okay.
How Beaver stole fire from the pines.
Okay. This is better than typing it out.
Yeah.
Okay. 3. I'm going as fast as I can without screwing up. 336. And 340. 1, 2, and 3. How Beaver stole fire from the pines. There we go.
And the next one is the next page over too. It'll be they're in a line. Ready? Okay.
Yes.
So this is from the Nez Perce. Once, before there were any people in the world, the different animals and trees lived and moved about and talked together just like human beings. The pine trees had the secret of fire and guarded it jealously. At no time, no matter how cold it was, they alone could warm themselves. At length, an unusually cold winter came, and all the animals were in danger of freezing to death. But all their attempts to discover the pine's secret were in vain until Beaver at last hit upon a plan. Beavers are smart, by the way. At a certain place on the Grand Ronde River in Idaho, the pines were about to hold a great conference, a council. They had built a large fire to warm themselves after bathing in the icy water, and sentinels were posted to prevent intruders from stealing their fire secret. But Beaver had hidden under the bank near the fire before the sentries had taken their places. And when a live coal rolled down the bank, he seized it, hid it in his breast, and ran away as fast as he could. The pines immediately raised a hue and a cry and started after him. Whenever he was hard pressed, Beaver darted from side to dodge his pursuers. And when he had a good start, he kept a straight course. The Grand Ronde River preserves the direction Beaver took in his flight, and this is why it is notorious in some parts of its course and straight in others. After running for a long time, the pines grew tired, so most of them halted in the body on the riverbanks, where they remain in great numbers to this day, forming a growth so dense that hunters can barely get through. A few pines kept chasing Beaver, but they finally gave out one after another, and they remained scattered at intervals along the banks of the river in places where they stopped. There was one cedar running in the forefront of the pines, and though he had despaired of capturing Beaver, he said to the few trees who were still in the chase, "We can't catch him, but I'll go to the top of the hill yonder and see how far ahead he is." So he ran to the top of the hill and saw Beaver just diving into the Big Snake River where the Grand Ronde enters it. Further pursuit was out of the question. The cedar stood and watched Beaver dart across the Big Snake River and give fire to some willows on the opposite side, and recrossed farther on and gave fire to the birches, and so on to several other kinds of trees. Since then, all who have wanted fire have got it from these particular trees, because they have fire in them and give it up readily when their wood is rubbed together in the old ancient way. Cedar still stands along the top of the hill where he stopped, near the junction of Grand Ronde and the Big Snake Rivers. He is very old, so old that his top is dead, but he still stands as a testament to the story's truth. That the chase was a very long one is shown by the fact that there are no cedars within 100 miles upstream from him. The old people point him out to the children as they pass by. See, they say, here is old Cedar standing in the very stop where he stopped chasing beaver. And that's a story based on a legend from 1890.
Well, that just tells you that, I mean, I can find a bunch of stuff in there. They name off a bunch of trees, and those are the trees that, if you want to start a fire, those will make the best wood to start a fire, won't they? Plus, it just tells you, where the trees are going to be scattered along the banks of the river.
Yeah, and as a person who's been up and down a few rivers, there are places where there's just some weird stuff in a certain area, and you travel a little farther, either north or south, and it's not the same. It's really weird.
Absolutely.
There a lot of the old stories down here from the swamps. There ain't no rocks down here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the stories have just been lost, and it really is a shame. This next story is called The Raven, and it's the Athapascan. Among a number of the Athapascan-speaking tribes of the Northwest Coast and Alaskan tribes, Raven is not only a powerful supernatural creator, but also a trickster. Now, the gentleman that I knew, Kashka, the legend keeper, can you see that picture of the raven right there?
Yeah, we got it on screen here.
Okay,
I'm screen sharing.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm driving the bus.
I got you. I'm paying attention to this. I'm not looking.
Yeah. No. You go right ahead. You keep going right ahead. I'll get this going.
He had masks that were carved out of old trees that were literally 1,500 years old. And I've held them in my hands, and they were ceremonial masks, and a couple of them were of raven. So, and that is very similar to what one of the masks looked like, with the hole at the nose and everything. So, but anyway, there once lived an old couple who wished to see their only daughter married to a rich man. When anyone arrived at their camp, the old man sent his son down to the landing to count the bone beads on the stranger's clothing so that he could be received according to his rank. Bone beads, okay. One day the boy came running in saying that a man had come who would make a good brother-in-law, for he had a number of fine beads, whom she also thought would make a suitable husband. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Fine bead. The mother went down to the riverbank and saw a richly dressed stranger, whom she also thought would make a suitable husband. She noticed that the shore was wet and muddy, so she got some bark and tore it into strips for the stranger to walk on. She invited him to enter their teepee and seated him next to the girl. The visitor pointed to a dog that was tied in the corner of the lodge and said, "I can't eat while that animal is in here." Thinking that only a very great personage would be so particular, the woman took the dog out into the forest and killed it. That's a little... the next morning, as she went for wood She noticed that the earth around the dog's body was marked with bird tracks and that its eyes had been pecked out. She returned to the camp and insisted that all the people take off their moccasins and show their feet because she had learned that Raven could deceive people by appearing in human form. The stranger, who was indeed Raven, took his moccasins off and slipped them on again so quickly that his scaly bird feet were not even noticed. The girl had agreed to marry Raven, and he demanded that she leave with him at once before he could be found out. Promising that they would return in a few days, he took his bride down to his canoe. As soon as the couple set off down the river, it began to rain. Raven was seated in front of the woman, who noticed that the rain was washing something white off his back. This made her suspicious, and she resolved to escape. Reaching forward, she succeeded in tying the tail of Raven's coat to a crossbar of the canoe. Then she asked to be set ashore for a minute, saying that she would be right back. Her husband told her not to go far, but she started to run for home as soon as she was out of sight among the trees. After a while, Raven decided to follow her. He found that his tail was tied, and to get free, he had to resume his true form. As he flew over the girl, he cried out, "Once more I cheat you," then caw-cawed and glided away. The girl got home safely and told her mother that her rich husband was Raven, who had come to them covered with lime, which the rain had melted away. Raven was always cheating the people, so they finally took his beak away from him. After a time, he went up the river and made a raft, which he loaded with moss. Floating down to the camps on it, he told the people that his head was sore where his beak had been torn off and that he was lying in the moss to cool it. Then he went back upriver and made several more rafts. When the people saw these floating on toward them, they thought that a large group of warriors were coming to help Raven regain his beak. They held a council and decided to send a young girl to take the beak to an old woman who lived alone at some distance from the camp. Raven, who had concealed himself among them and heard the council's plans, waited until the girl came back. Then he went to the old woman and told her that the girl wanted her to return the beak to him. Suspecting nothing, the old woman gave him his beak. He put it on, flew away, cawing with pleasure at his success. The warriors who had been on the rafts proved to be nothing but the tufts or hummocks of big bog moss, which are commonly known. And it's from the American Folklore 1900.
Well, that's a story of like deception. Is it not?
Yes. And it seems like, Rabbit deceived and Coyote deceived, and the trickster is, is Raven. And it seems like in the world of, and to this day, you think about what some of the stories talk about tricksters. Think about our politicians, and aren't they tricksters to us to this day,
Oh yeah.
I mean, so it's like, so here are these people you're supposed to trust, and they pull the stuff on you. But
Well,
the interesting thing is, though, that they know Raven's a trickster.
yes, and then he goes to this old woman who lived alone, and she lived away from the camp, so she didn't know what was going on, and somehow she had the beak, and then she just gives it back to him. I mean, freewheeling, like, here, just take it. Well, the whole illusion is that he built these rafts and put all this moss on it to look like a giant group of men coming to, stampede the camp to, it was all illusion. It was illusion of deception. So, yeah, crazy, huh?
Yep.
There's so much more to this stuff than.
At least they got together and said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
The next one is the next one in line called Bluebird and Coyote. And it's from the Pima folk. Bluebird was once a very ugly color.
Okay, which one are we doing now? Where's this one? 340. Okay, hang on. I gotta give me a second to get this.
No problem. I'll take some coffee and thank Bob for allowing us to have a show. And I hope this is interesting to folks.
Yeah. Okay. No crap. I just had it on there. Oh. I think I did something wrong here. Hang on.
It's there. I see it. Whoop.
No, that was my. Hang on. I screwed this up. That was.
Hang on to what we've got.
No, I shut the Chrome off, and I shouldn't have shut the Chrome off.
Got a lot of love between us.
What page is this? 346? 346. Somewhere in there. I had it up. I should have just left it alone. And I didn't. I had to play with it. Trying to do more than I should, and I screwed it up. Yeah, hang on. I'll go a little faster. 60, 55. You jump around here, and then I screwed that one up. I shut the thing off trying to, and then it says I got a high bit rate or something, and I don't know how to fix it. The Bluebird and the Coyote, huh?
Yep.
All right. And oh, I got to go back to here. I can't share, and it's hard to figure out this share thing, you know? Okay, here we go. Okay, you're set. Go ahead.
All right, so Bluebird,
oh, David, wait. They're saying in the chat that you can't hear you. I can't hear you that good either. Did you do something?
Nope.
I don't think it's me that did anything.
Nope, I haven't touched anything. Mike and everything's the same.
I didn't touch anything here.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I haven't touched anything. Everything's still the same.
Yeah, because you faded out, and then you came back, and then I thought it was my headset earlier. That happened earlier, and then I thought, oh no, you know.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
I haven't done anything.
Oh, okay, there you are. You're good. Let's go. I don't know what you did, but you fixed it.
Nothing.
I didn't do anything here. I was trying to click on something, but it didn't work. So
yeah, Bob, we love you. I'm sorry I haven't offered you any coffee tonight. You know,
if you want me to read some too, just let me know. But you go right ahead.
I mean, you know, okay. I bet you can if you want.
No, yeah, whatever.
The Bluebird was once a very ugly color, but there was a lake where no river flowed in or out, and the bird bathed in it 4 times every morning for 4 mornings. Every morning it sang, "There's a blue water, it lies there. I went in, I am all blue." On the 4th morning, it shed all of its feathers and came out of the lake in its bare skin. But on the 5th morning, it came out with blue feathers. Now, all this while, Coyote had been watching the bird. He wanted to jump in and get it, but he was afraid of the water. On that 5th morning, he said, "How is it that all your ugly color has come out, and now you are blue and gay and beautiful? You're more beautiful than anything that flies in the air. I want to be blue too." Coyote was at that time a bright green. "I went in 4 times," said the bird, "and taught Coyote the song." So Coyote went in 4 times, and the 5th time he came out as blue as the little bird. That made him feel very proud. As he walked along, he looked at every side to see if anyone was noticing how fine and blue he was. He looked to see if his shadow was blue too, so that he was not watching the road. Presently, he ran into a stump so hard that it threw him down in the dirt, and he became dust covered all over. And to this day, all coyotes are the color of dirt. How about that one?
That's pretty good. And guess what? 4 and 4 and 4.
Yeah. Don't know what it means to them, but a lot of 4s in there, you know?
Yeah, 4 times, and in 4 times, there was 4 days. Man, you either just picked the right stories or there's some kind of message going on in these stories with the 4, the 4, the 4. 4 days, 4 times. Something to it, man. There is something to it.
I treated the stories like a card reading.
Yeah.
So I kind of flipped through the book and said, okay, what's a good start, you know? And so I looked on one and I noticed another one. Like, here, just flip the page. There's another one. Well, okay. Well, yeah, it's short and it's got, yeah, that's interesting. Okay. You know, so here we are.
All right. What
So
do we got?
how are we doing on time?
Oh, let's do this last one. The How Crow or whatever it is, the Crow one, 398. And then we'll have our whole list crossed off for tonight. How's that?
Okay, 398. All right.
Yeah, I'm paging through it, and we'll do that one. We'll call it a wrap up for New Year's, and it's New Year's. I'm sure everybody wants to celebrate a little bit on their own, and I want to thank everybody for bearing through this with me. That one time I shut the computer off because I forgot to plug the thing in the back when I did the reboot deal, and it came unplugged actually. So
a lot of big booms going on around here. Rednecks are showing their stripes.
Oh yeah, I bet you people are lighting off fireworks.
Yep.
What is it? 398. 398. Come on.
And this story is why the owl has big eyes, and it's Iroquois. So we've been listening to the Northwestern tribes mostly, and this is Northeastern tribe. And I met I consider him a friend because we hit it off right away. He was Iroquois, and he had red hair and fair skin, and he was the last thing you'd think of as an Indian. But he was like, you know, I think he was at least half, but that a lot of, you know, Irish had moved into that area, and there was also some traditional things that kind of led back to the old red-haired giant thing. So the Iroquois, anyway.
Cool.
Why the owl has big eyes. Roweno, the everything maker, was busy creating various animals. He was working on Rabbit, and Rabbit was saying, I want nice long legs and long ears like a deer, and sharp fangs and claws like a panther. I do them up the way they want to be. I give them what they ask for, said Roweno. He was working on Rabbit's hind legs, making them long the way Rabbit had ordered. Owl, still unformed, was sitting on a tree nearby waiting his turn. He was saying, Woo-hoo! I want a nice long neck like swans and beautiful red feathers like the cardinals and a nice long beak like egrets and a nice crown of plumes like herons. I want you to make me into the most beautiful, the fastest, the most wonderful of all the birds. Roweno said, Be quiet, turn around and look in another direction. Even better, close your eyes. Don't you know that no one is allowed to watch me work? Roweno was just then making Rabbit's ears very long the way Rabbit wanted them. Owl refused to do what Roweno said. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo, he replied. Nobody can forbid me to watch. Nobody can order me to close my eyes. I like watching you, and watch I will. Then Roweno became angry. He grabbed Owl, pulling him down from his branch, stuffing his head deep into his body, shaking him until his eyes grew big with fright, pulling at his ears until they were sticking up at both sides of his head. There, said Roweno, that'll teach you. Now you won't be able to crane your neck to watch things you shouldn't watch. Now you have big ears to listen when somebody tells you not to what not to do. Now you have big eyes, but not so big that you can watch me because you'll be awake only at night, and I will work by day. And your feathers won't be red like cardinals, but gray like this. And Rawino rubbed Owl all over with mud as punishment for your disobedience. So Owl flew off, pouting, hoo hoo, hoo hoo. Then Rawino turned back to finish Rabbit, but Rabbit had been so terrified by Rawino's anger, even though it was not directed at him, then he ran off half done. As a consequence, only Rabbit's hind legs are long, and he has to hop about instead of walking and running. Also, because he took fright then, Rabbit has remained afraid of almost everything, and he never got the claws and fangs he asked for in order to defend himself. Had he not run away then, Rabbit would have been an altogether different animal. As for Owl, he remained as Rawino had shaped him in anger, with big eyes, a short neck, and ears sticking up on the sides of his head. On top of everything, he has to sleep during the day and come out only at night. Ta-da.
That was really good. See, I mean, it just gives gives you, like, how should I put it, a reason why things came to be. And this Rawino character, he's the everything maker.
Yep.
So see, that explains how everything got made.
He was sitting around the hut making stuff, you know?
Go figure, huh?
And so, and as the story says, he says, I try to give them what they want, right? So Rabbit's half done, and Owl he stuffed his head down into his body and shook him, I'll teach you, damn it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and that's just how they look too. I mean, I'm picturing this in my head, and I'm thinking, oh man, that's exactly what happened. Owl is like, you rub dirt all over him.
Let me tell a short story that's not in any of the books, but it's a common story. But it's about this, and it's about Porcupine.
Mm-hmm.
And Porcupine is a family crest on the Null side, or it's supposed to be. Anyway, but this Porcupine story, when I first heard it, I was like, this is just lovely. So when Creator made the Porcupine, he had no fur. It was just skin. So Porcupine was running around basically naked, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he felt so ashamed that he found an old Indian rug and threw it on his back. And that was his only protection. So every day, no matter what he did, he was, just eating vegetables and minding his own business. He didn't have big claws and wasn't a threat to anybody. But mountain lion and, those kind of critters, they were like, porcupine, yum, yum, eat 'em up, porcupine. And so Porcupine was all the time running. And so he was just literally a mouthful away from being eaten. So one day he went down to the river, and he was standing beside the river, and he was looking up to the sky and asked Creator. He said, "Great Creator, I'm here because I'm not complaining about how you made me, but I have no protection. And mountain lion and coyote, and they want to eat me all the time." And so Great Creator had pity on Porcupine and looked down and said, "Porcupine, roll yourself in the mud. Why not do it 4 times?" And so Porcupine did what he was told and rolled into the mud on the riverbank. And when he was through, Creator reached his hand down from the heavens and took branches from the thorn trees and stuck them in his back into the mud. And he said, "Okay, Porcupine, there you go." So Porcupine didn't know what the Creator had done because he couldn't see what was on his back. He just knew he was covered with mud. But on his way home to his lodge, he was attacked by a mountain lion. Porcupine, gonna get me a meal. And he reached out to grab that porcupine from behind and got a mouthful of briar patch and thorn bushes and shook his head and said, Porcupine, what happened to you? And Porcupine said, thank you, Creator. And the mountain lion tried again to take a bite and got a mouthful of splinters and thorns and briars. And finally, that, Porcupine to this day has quills on his back, and he will only use them if attacked. So, but anyway.
That's a good one. I like it. I like it. Well, you know what? This has been really an interesting show, even though we had our problems, but I'm sure I think everybody's really enjoyed this, and I hope we can do this again. We got a whole book, and now thanks to Peter, we got a PDF, and look at how our Soul Tribe works together. So we're going to be able to do this more often. And, like it says, if anybody else wants to come on and find some good stories in that book, I'll post the link to the book in the description. And if you find some good ones in there and you want to read them, come on the show, And David, we'll do this again. We'll do a few more. You pick out some stories and whichever ones you want, or maybe I'll go through and pick out some. Now that we got a PDF, I don't have to type.
There you go.
Because
I knew it would work out.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave it all hanging where, we're reading the book and saying, hey, you got to go out and buy your own book and blah, blah, blah. But this is really great. And yeah. So anyway, we had Steve's showed up, Slightly Slanted Sleuth, and Happy New Year. And we had Big Al, who's driving through, I think, Arizona or New Mexico, who decided to show up. And Peter says, Happy Fake New Year. Yes, we do not know what year it really is. It depends on what calendar you're going by.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, we'll just decide that we'll mark the calendar and start the day out as a new day every day. And we'll just celebrate a little bit more today. How's that? That works for me.
I wanted because of copyright and so forth. I do want to give out, and anytime we ever did a play, you always gave, to the writers and etc. So this is Native American Myths and Legends, selected and edited by Richard Erdos and Alfonso Ortiz by Pantheon Books in New York, and the copyright was 1984. So we thank these folks for the book that they created, and should have actually done this at the beginning, but we should always give credit to those folks who do this hard work of putting things together. So,
and I did put it in the description. I did put it in the description, their names and who they were and stuff like that. And they did a really nice job on this book.
They really did.
Good. Yes. Now, I don't know. We lit a candle, and since Brian, our good friend, is not here with us, we'll, to remember him, I lit a candle. And starting out the new year, Brian, wherever you are, I hope you're watching. We carry on the torch for another season. Thank you. I hope, yeah, there you go. All right. And with that, we'll do like we always do. And just like Brian would do. And I'm carrying on the torch, I could say. Be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all.
Till next time.
Till next time. And there we go.